Hi, Emma. I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. Such a pleasure to speak to you today. How are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. So, of course, lots of people might have already blitzed through the first season of Extraordinary and be eagerly anticipating this second. But for people who might be coming fresh, tell us a bit about the show. What's this world they can enter into?
Yeah, so it's basically a world where everyone at around 18 gets a superpower. Not that they're necessarily the good superpowers, like there's a mix of the ones you'd want and the kind of shitty ones. But our lead Jen is basically the only person that she, I guess, knows of that didn't get one. So she's kind of the only, I guess, like normal person in a world full of super normal people.
And I was thinking, God, for so long we've watched superhero movies, all the comic book adaptations. There's not that many, films or TV shows that have managed to kind of do a really solid comedic spin or do something so fresh with it. I mean, maybe one example would be The Boys on Prime Video, but this really feels like something different. What was your starting point, and why did you want to make the show?
I guess, I mean, maybe it feels different, I guess, because it started out as not anything remotely superpowersy. Like it started out as like I was just trying to write a flat share sitcom, basically. But it felt a bit flat and sort of I'd seen it didn't, it was sort of just not really saying anything. So I just kind of played with different genres that I like and sort of eventually lit on superhero stuff as like, I guess more we've always tried to do it so that the superpower stuff is there to like enhance the kind of characters and comedy rather than be the point of it. Like it's not really like a plot driven, oh my God, save the world kind of show. It's more about sort of being a bit messy and lost in your 20s, and the powers are there to kind of give everything a little bit of a twist, basically. So I guess that's maybe why it doesn't feel it's part of the superhero sort of pantheon, but it's kind of the little gift shop at the back that people don't really that's not really part of it.
And for me, it also seems to pull from kind of the best of these sort of female-led comedies. I mean, if you think of like, Bridesmaids, perhaps, and some of the kind of, not being afraid to be a bit crude. And then, the messiness of a character like Bridget Jones or Fleabag, Sharon Horgan's type writing. Did you kind of have, any of that kind of in your mind? And I guess we still just don't see enough of these female characters that are allowed to be so flawed, and so relatable and not perfect and not kind of, and it's almost the show is about her kind of embracing that rather than trying to fit in with everybody else.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like I get annoyed when people see it as like a trend, as in like it's going to stop at some point because women stopped being that. Like, no, because I've like obviously I love all of those shows and like those characters, but I feel like I never sit down to be like, right, I'm going to write like a flawed female protagonist, a person that is interesting, basically. And it just happens to, I think more women are like that than we might think, looking at media. So it's never been deliberate, but yeah, I hope that trend never like goes away because that's just how people are, I think.
And what a phenomenal cast. Marriott right at the center as Jen. I mean, the script, so hilarious. And she lands every line amazingly. She must have been such a find for you. What was it like seeing her in particular, but the rest of the cast as well? Bring your story to life.
Yeah, it was like really specific, I think, when I saw Murray's audition tapes. I think we'd seen quite a few and it just wasn't quite landing. Like it either came across that Jen was like super, super unlikable and a bit sort of whingy, I think. And then we saw Mairead's and we saw the sort of like, yeah, she like nailed every like comic beat like perfectly, but was also like had this nice like vulnerability, I guess. You kind of see that if she's being a dick, it's because she's like insecure rather than she's just an arsehole. So I think, yeah, the second we saw her tape, it was very much like, okay, great, we've got like the anchor, and now we're sort of like populating everyone around her. So we did like a lot of like the process was like a lot of like chemistry tests and just sort of whacking people in a room because we wanted it to feel like you're just kind of watching four friends hang out, which is like the kind of shows that I love watching. I don't really care about anything happening. I just want to see people chat. So that was kind of the process. Once we got the sort of mixture right, it just sort of let it roll, basically.
And I guess the great thing about kind of entering in this slightly fantastical space, so even though it's very grounded, it allows you to sort of like have these creative flourishes. I mean, even just coming up with all the superpowers feels like it must have just been so much fun. And then, even in the second season, the sort of exorcism episode, kind of almost like full-blown horror, obviously still with the comedic edge. Did you have a lot of fun with all of that? What were some of your favorite parts of putting the script together and bringing those ideas to the fore?
Oh yeah, I had a lot of fun. I think I get really bored. So like I'm not having fun, I'm just not going to do it. So I think it's partly from me just being a lazy writer and wanting to write the things I find fun. Yeah, the Halloween episode was really, really, I think that was sitting down and sort of like trying to think as a cat was quite a fun sort of exercise, basically. Yeah, the more sort of like genre stuff I can sort of wedge in there, the better, really.
And coming up with some of these lines as well. Did you have a favorite line? Maybe it was a different one from when you wrote it than when you saw it back, and the performances of it.
I know. I always feel really like cringy about saying like a line's good because I'm just like congratulating myself, which feels really bad. I think there's a line from like season one that I always find really fun just because of Luke's delivery, which is like so pathetic, where he's like, Jen sees a cat run under a bin and thinks it's him. So it's kind of professing her love to this like cat under a bin, but he's seeing it. And he's like, oh, you want a bin to be your boyfriend? It's kind of a slap in the face. And it's just like the sort of really pathetic little way he does it just always makes me laugh.
I actually really like just even the opening little monologue she does in the interview, because you're just like, whoa, she actually said that out loud, but it's also very realistic. Just all the things that she,
Yeah, it's pretty much everything I wanted to say in an interview. It was very cathartic writing that. I was like, yes, this is what I've always wanted to just like word vomit out.
I think another thing that really stands out about the show is like the look and feel of it. Like the colors all just really pop. So it feels like London, but it's like a slightly kind of different or heightened version of it. And I guess that again, with all the sort of creative flourishes and like little bits of CGI that come in there. And the soundtrack's amazing as well. Why are all those different aspects also really important to telling the story?
I think because we are sort of taking from quite like a big campy genre. So for it to feel like really flat would just wouldn't have felt right. And I think I don't know, I wanted to kind of get across that like the time of your life this is portraying is like really, really grimy and terrible, but also like the best time of your life. There's sort of magical moments to it where everything sort of feels like rose tinted glasses. So I think having that sort of mishmash of like slightly grimy London, but like we've got a really romantic lens on it always felt really important for the show. And then with the music, I sort of always like make a playlist for different projects that I do. So I think that sort of formed like obviously we've got like a great music supervisor who knows like every song ever and is amazing. But that sort of formed like I guess like the little like kernel around which it kind of grew. So it felt like it had like a little identity from the beginning that felt quite energetic and like youthful and a bit sort of like scuzzy.
And in terms of what people can take away, I mean, I guess first and foremost, it's just so entertaining, laugh out loud, funny. But beneath that surface, it is prodding at lots of really sort of relevant issues, like that thing of being in your 20s and life's supposed to be amazing and it feels like everything's kind of a failure, and yeah, wanting to fit in, find your identity, and also yeah, kind of just embracing where you are in life. So what do you think people can take away from watching the show?
Yeah, I think just to like chill out. I know that sounds really like simple, but it's like, if superhero stuff is about sort of like being the best and like chasing dreams and like chasing goals, like this is kind of the anti that, where it's like actually things will probably be fine. What's important is just kind of hanging out with your friends and thinking that you're okay. You're not the best, you're not the worst, you're just like fine. That's not very inspiring, but I think it is a little bit. I feel like there's no pressure, basically.
And just very quickly, you're hoping for a season 3. Have you got other projects in the pipeline? What's coming next?
Ooh, well, I've like in my head, I've got the story sort of mapped out, so it'd be nice to continue it. And yeah, I've got some stuff on the go, but I can't really speak too much about it. But I'm definitely busy. I'll put it that way.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with me, and I cannot wait for everyone to get stuck into the second season of Extraordinary. Thanks so much.